Alright, we're back at it again in the self-propelled leaf blower. And this is that Hovercraft. I have another video on my channel about this, showing how it works pretty much. And I kind of already showed all there is to this Hovercraft. It's using fin for the lift and also pitch and roll and to go forwards and backwards. And the only part that isn't fin is moving sideways with two thrusters and two little pods right there. One thing I didn't show was the skirt, and the skirt is pretty basic. But one cool thing about the skirt is it doesn't so much inflate as much as it does reacts to the terrain beneath the craft. So you can see as it gets closer to the ground, it will scale the hollows to kind of touch the ground. And this also works on the pitch and roll. Sort of. They go through the ground a little bit because I didn't really calibrate it. And the lift fan really doesn't like that. But that E2, let's see if I can find it. Nope. Okay, that one. Skirt boy. So that has height, pitch, and roll inputs, and that actually has similar outputs on the ground mapper, the chip that uses ranges to kind of figure out where the hovercraft is, or how the hovercraft is orientated relative to whatever is, well, basically the ground. It's close enough to the ground. But I have a couple other hovercrafts other than this, well, basically SRN1 clone that I stopped working on. So give me a minute to spawn one of them, and I will be back. So this next hovercraft is kind of interesting. I've built, and actually I will say before I mention that it's still an ongoing whip. But you could make the point that everything I build in GMod is an ongoing whip, and I just give up on them when I start working on something else. Half of this is made in modeling software, particularly Blender, and the other half, you can probably see in some areas, is made with just GMod props and S props and all that. But this is my attempt at making CCGS Moytel, if that's how you pronounce it anyway. It's a Canadian Coast Guard hovercraft, and I thought this vehicle was basically one of a kind and only one ever built and that kind of thing, but I believe you can also find a similar hovercraft, or pretty much the same hovercraft, under the name BHT-150, and I believe Griffin Hoverworks makes these things. Yeah, it's pretty much the biggest thing I built in GMod, as you can see. Pretty big. And this area over here can fit 2 tanks. It probably can't carry 2 tanks, or 2 heavy tanks anyway. But another thing I want to talk about with this one is that it uses fin to propel itself with these 2 massive propellers. It doesn't use fin for the lift though. ACF rotates these lift fans, but I have an E2 that, depending on how fast these fans are spinning and how much lift is making, it'll apply a reverse torque to sort of, burden the engines. And that E2 is pretty much the same as the ground mapper E2, if I can find it. Yeah, hovercraft handler. So basically I took the ground mapper E2 and put apply force and apply aim force on it. So it does exactly what the other hovercraft did, but it didn't need basically 2 helicopter rotors. So is that all with the hovercraft? Actually, looking at it from here, you can see this thing weighs 70 tons and runs on 16? Yeah, 16 of the ACF 23-liter petrols. Let me actually enable rendering again. I have my cubes. So, I paused working on this thing for a little bit anyway, but it does actually function right now. I just need to finish the model and, make the door holes not extra wide, put doors on it and all that, give it a material, that kind of thing. But it does actually function, so let me go ahead and so 4 engines power the 2 lift fans, 2 engines per fan, and 4 engines power the 2 propellers, the 2 massive propellers back there. And actually it's routed so that all 4 of the engines go to both of the fans rather than 2 to a single fan, so they can distribute the load better. But I have a few issues with this thing. One is that it really likes to stall out when, especially applying forward propeller pitch and trying to turn. You can hear it now, then the fans want to stall out. Oh, they might stall out. Okay. Now that can be fixed by, rather than trying to speed up the fan that's already running close to maximum prop pitch, by like not increasing the propeller pitch anymore. But another problem I have with it is I don't like the fact that it can turn in place kind of like a tank, as you can see. And again, that's another thing that can be fixed in the D2 that actually controls the Hovercraft. Another thing is it doesn't have the 2 rudders behind the fans. Not 2 rudders, more like 4 rudders, I believe. And that would probably help if I just put those on and gave them fin and made them rotate left and right. Now you're probably thinking, if the solution is so simple, why not go ahead and fix it? I have started to fix it by working on another Hovercraft. It's a pretty weird problem-solving process, but my brain is a little bit smooth, so I've been wanting to build this one for a while now, even before wanting to build the Moytel, and I've been wanting to build that for a while as well. This is the American Bell SK5 Patrol Air Cushion Vehicle, or PACV for short. And it's actually a license-produced Saunders Row Nautical 5, but it kind of looks like a SRN6, so unfortunately not all American, but we had a few of these in the Vietnam War to see just how viable they were. And this one's actually still, well, I kind of just rigged this one the other day, and it's missing the gun turret on top there. There's a space there for it, but I haven't actually put it there. And this one is pretty much the same as the Moytel. I have 2 lift fans, like I said, it's smooth rain, but 2 propellers, and those are linked to that same E2 hovercraft handler, newer version this time, because I'm still sort of working on it. And those spin, and the faster they spin, the more force they create, but also the more drag they run into, burdening the two turbines, which collectively produce about almost 1,000 horsepower actually. So we got the 2 lift fans and 1 propeller this time, so kind of weird things happening with the gyroscopics and also reaction torque from the engines, but haven't actually been too bad on this hovercraft. Also present is the rudders, and those are just 2 10-kilogram props with 25 fin. But it's not just the rudders I wanted to experiment with. The rudders actually alone seem to work just fine. Some tests I did also the other day. Oh, actually today. But another thing I wanted to experiment with is putting actually a helicopter rotor on the back of this thing. So not only does this thing have prop pitch, which a hovercraft probably wouldn't have, especially a cheaper one. I mean, hovercraft in general probably wouldn't have propeller pitch, I think. I don't really know. But it also has a cyclic. So basically, if you could in theory just like pitch this, and I do have a little bit of pitch because the propeller is mounted quite high, so more force means that the thing wants to nose into the ground. But so you can pitch, but because it's rotated 90 degrees, instead of rolling, you actually get a yaw. And the reason I have a cyclic on this is because I wanted to simulate airflow because as the propeller spins and pushes air back into the rudders, you get some airflow over the rudders, so in theory that would increase the rudder's effectiveness. But instead, GMod, I tried using cyclic to do that. And the cyclic works by multiplying the speed of the propellers by the propeller total pitch, so forwards and backwards, by the rudder deflection angle, because they increase the rudder's effectiveness and don't work on a standstill. And that might be unnecessary, but it's something I wanted to test and, well, just see how effective it was, and if it was necessary, which, again, probably not. But that just about summarizes what I've been doing in GMod in regards to hovercraft. And actually, regarding the model on this was made in Blender as well and cut up into pieces. And actually there's working doors on this thing. And it's kind of a shame that the bottom door just goes through the skirt, but oh well. Yeah, this one is also unfinished, and I plan to work on this some more. And the Moytel, I'm not gonna completely abandon it yet. I just wanted to try and work on basically the control of a hovercraft, which this was built for, which is a weird problem-solving continuum. But oh well.